Hey, my fellow actors and artists. Today, I wanted to do a quick little video to talk about something that came up yesterday and I felt was very important. And it also reinforces why I do this. So, if you're just now, if this is your first introduction to me and my videos or what I teach, or you've been around for a while, really doesn't matter. What you're going to hear is things that I say like empower your self-sustaining actor. And that's kind of like at the core of what this is all about. And I do that because as in my youth of wanting to be an actor, when I say youth, I mean like when I was a young kid, when I first got inspired to, I looked to other people, especially adults, for guidance. I looked for mentors, and nobody ever really showed up. The ones that did show up were discouraging, and they projected their limited beliefs on me. As I've worked through that and gotten to a place of being able to share information and knowledge with others, in my own journey, I found, and you'll hear this everywhere, not just in acting or in arts, but just in life, you start to hear it more and more now with the consciousness being shifting in the world, that we have to value ourselves, that we have to put our value, our self-value, our validity in ourselves and not the outside world, because when we put value into the outside world or things outside of us, we're destined for hard times and a lot of pain. And that's because if something outside of us, we put our value in, say, this is who I am, this is what I'm worth because of somebody said so, or because I booked this job, or whatever it is. And that's the value that I'm worth. You number one, you limit yourself, but you put your destiny and your life basically in other people's hands. And other people, like, if you think you don't know what you're doing in life and you don't have things figured out, which you don't, no, but the trick, nobody else does. So to put your self-value in somebody else's hands, I work, that's, again, this is why I do it, to help people get into a place of self-empowerment. So I was talking to someone the other day and about how prior to lockdown, which happened in March of 2020, when I'm filming this right now, it's October 1st, 2021. So we're far into it. We're talking about how prior to lockdown, there was this great momentum of creativity and working on projects and fulfilling the passion of the artist. And when lockdown happened, how the depression and lack of value and sadness and everything overcame them. And it was very simple. When you look to someone else or other people to feed you, you are indebted to them. You are a slave to them, in a sense. And what happened, and what people, not just artists, but all around the world, discovered was that when the hand that fed them was cut off, we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, because we're like, how am I going to eat? How am I going to make money? How am I going to live? How am I going to provide? How am I going to express myself? Just even as an artist, how am I going to express myself? And this is why it's so volatile. I don't know if that's the right word. That's not the right word. This is why it's so important that we have to become self-sustaining actors and artists. Because if we rely on other people to feed us, we are, those of you know Pavlov's dog. or dogs, that we're subservient to them. Like we have to do what they say. We have to play by their rules. We have to negate our morals and many other things because we do not have the power to do it ourselves. You know, if you're religious and you believe in, you know, the Christian Bible and, you know, the whole, you know, teach a man. I don't even know if that's where it came from. Maybe it is. I don't know. I'm mixing things up. But, you know, teach a man, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, he'll eat forever. That's a mentality. So many artists and actors, especially, enter into the creative industry from I have to go get food from other people instead of learning how to fish myself. And I was telling this person, if you took the time to educate yourself just on the basics, how to write a script, not even a great script, but just how to put your ideas down on paper and how to film them, whether it's with a phone or, you know, a DSLR, a little camera, just the basics. Again, not that you have to be a screenwriter or a DP or anything like that, but just enough that you can express yourself on paper enough to, whether you do it, you know, just as yourself as an actor, or you bring in friends to film a scene together, something like that, but be able to express yourself. You don't go into those depressions. You don't go into those stagnations or feeling that you'll never make it, or that you're not any good, or, you know, all the things that go in our brains. I got to get into this casting director. I gotta do this. I gotta go meet people and all this other stuff. What you need to do is you need to create your own opportunities, because then, and wherever you stand in the world, politically or whatever it is, it doesn't matter, but it applies, is that when you rely on other people for substance, they can take that away, or they can use that as a bargaining chip, or to get you to do whatever they want you to do. And unfortunately, because of this power dynamic that has existed for so long, especially in our industry, that's why you see people getting on the casting couch, you know, the casting couch that we hear of, and doing things that they wouldn't normally do, taking on roles doing nudity, or taking less pay or whatever. Because we as artists, we just like to create, and which is why we need agents, because we will do it for free, right? Because we just love to create, and it's like, yeah, I just want to create. I just want this opportunity. But in doing that, you devalue yourself. You devalue what you bring to the world. So if you take the time out to become self-sustaining and go, you know what? You know, the studio shut down, the economy shuts down, whatever it is, I can still pick up a camera. I can still write a script. I can still express what I want to express. And therefore, I don't need these exterior entities to give me my big break, or give me an opportunity, or call me in and you know, for an audition, and then hopefully call me in for a callback, and then hopefully book it, or whatever. You're now in the driver's seat. And what the power behind this is, number one, you just get to express yourself. I mean, think of it like actors, we think of acting, and it is a little different than other arts. But if you think of like a musician, just think of a musician who's like wanting to get a record deal and become successful in music. If they were to go, well, when Market Square Arena calls me and gives me an opportunity, then I'll play. Then I'll do it. No, what do? The musician is playing in their apartment. They're playing on the street corner for change. They might be doing it for some money, but they're really doing it because for the practice and for the exposure, to get their name out there, they don't wait around. They don't sit there and go, oh, well, the economy shut down, so I can't play music. But we as actors, we do that all the time. Oh, well, there's no production going on. So create your own production. Well, I can't really do a production because there's all these guidelines, COVID. Okay, well then just do like a one-man show or a one-man whatever. We see it all the time. What makes it? Well, I don't know how. You have no excuse now, today's day and age. You're watching this video right now on YouTube or your phone or your computer, whatever it is. Like, there's knowledge out there. Find it. If you really want it bad enough, you'll figure it out. If you can't find it, just start doing it and figuring out. But to think of like, well, if other people aren't giving me the opportunity, then I can't do it. Like, that's not why you started this thing. I mean, look at little kids. They don't wait for recess. They don't wait for the permission to play. They're always in their imagination. They're always doing stuff. It's that society has told us to, hey, act proper and to take things seriously and, go get a job and all these other things, or wait for permission. That time's done. That era's over. It's time for all of us to empower ourselves and go, you know what? I'm going to do it I'm going to create, I'm going to teach myself, or, whether you find a mentor or you just do it on your own, I'm going to figure out how to fish, because I'm not going to be reliant on other people. I'm not going to be reliant on the economy or the world or the governments to say when I can and can't work. I have this conversation with actors all the time. They're like, man, I'd love to play this role. I'd love to play that role. And I'm like, what's your dream role? And they go, well, my dream role is this, this, and this. I'm like, then write it. Because even if that dream role comes along, if you're even lucky enough to get an audition for it, right? If you're not a big name or something like that, the odds of you even getting to audition, much less get that role, are so slim that the odds are against you. But if you were to write it and shoot it yourself, it's 100% guarantee you got the role, number one. So you just, as an artist, you get to experience it, you get to express it, you get to play in it, and without waiting for other people to do it for you. And then the other cool thing is that you put it out there and you get to entertain other people or whatever it is. But then a studio exec sees it, a casting director sees it, doesn't matter. And they go, you know what, that person would be really good in this role. Or they go, you know what, that's a great concept. Let's turn that into a film. Let's turn that into a TV series. And now you go from the bottom of the pecking order all the way to the top. It can happen like that, but you have to create. You go, well, I've done stuff in the past and it hasn't worked. Well, it's all learning, it's all growing. It's like you never know what's going to hit, what's not going to hit. And if you listen to the people who've been in this business for 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years, who've had a lot of success, they'll even tell you, you never know what's going to work and what's not. It's not about that. It's about doing the work. It's about expressing yourself so that you're not, laying in bed sad because, you're not working or you're not, expressing yourself as an artist. Laird Hamilton, who's a pro surfer, in a documentary I saw with him, and they were interviewing him about, him and his family and friends and stuff like that. And they were talking about the days when there's no waves. And his wife said, or maybe it was him, I can't remember exactly, but basically what was said was, imagine that you were born to slay dragons, and that's all you ever wanted to do, and that's all you did your whole life. And then you wake up one day and you realize there's no more dragons to slay. He said, that's what it feels like. And I'm like, and when he said that, I was like, I get that. I fully get that, because that's what it feels like when I rap on set and I'm like, after shooting something, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to leave set, because I love being in this environment. I love doing this. Every time I shoot write something and shoot it, and then I don't have anything lined up, or that's how I feel. Like there's no more dragons to slay. But the reality is that I and you get to create the dragons for us to slay. Is it easy? Not always. Is it fun? Not always. It is a lot of fun when you look back at it and once you get into the flow of it. But man, it's guaranteed work, and it opens up so many more opportunities than just waiting for the hand to feed you. You might get a little fish from them. With you get guaranteed a big fish. Or if anything, you're guaranteed a fish. Maybe it is a small fish. With the hand that feeds you, you're not guaranteed anything. They might go, we're out of fish, or not today, or not unless you do this thing. When you are self-sustaining, nobody can control you. Nobody can take anything away from you. Nobody can hold anything over you, because you're just like, all right, I'll do it myself. Or I don't need you. Like, if we're going to play these games, I'll go do something myself. I don't need you. And now you're no longer attached to the feeding trough. You're no longer a slave. And now you can just create when you want to. We've outsourced our creativity, the permission for our creativity in so many ways. And I'm guilty of it too. I started as a self-sustaining person and creating all my own stuff because there were no opportunities where I was and what I was doing. And then I got to Hollywood and and then I put that to the side, and then I got attached to, I have to do it this way, and these are the gatekeepers and everything. And I've gone back and forth, but it's really, every time I do things on my own and do what I want to do, how I want to do it, it's always fulfilling. Even if it doesn't work, even if it's really hard, it's always fulfilling. Those are the things I remember. But when I find myself relying on other people to give me the permission and the opportunities to create, to act, to direct, to write, whatever it is, I'm waiting a long time. And it's very unfulfilling. And it can be depressing. Because I'll leave it at this. There's a great movie called Where'd You Go, Bernadette Peters? And she's an architect who gives up her dream of being an architect because she failed miserably on a big dream project or something. Everybody should watch this film. But she ends up going, okay, I'm just going to raise a family and everything else. Where the story starts is her having kind of a breakdown, and she kind of goes, she takes off and disappears from her family and everything, and they're looking for her. She sits down with one of her fellow architects or something from her past, and it's Lawrence Fishburne. He has this great thing he says to her. He goes, artists, and I'm going to screw this up. This is not verbatim, but basically, artists are destined to create, and if they stop creating, they become menaces to society. And my belief is that's very true, because we are meant to express. We're a special kind of human being that is here to express ourselves, and if we don't, the dam backs up and it starts overflowing, and instead of providing water to the town, we now flood it. We have to we have to open the floodgates consistently. If we let the water flow through consistently, everything's good. But if we shut them down, the water will overflow and it will flood the town. The dam will break at some point. It will not be good. Not a creative one. So create. Be self-sustaining. Who knows how long this situation in the world is going to continue on, with the powers that be just pulling these strings of, okay, we're open, we're closed, we're open. And you have to do this now, and you have to do that now. Whatever your belief is. And even if things go back to normal or whatever it is, still, you should never outsource your permission to create. Imagine how powerful you'll feel. Imagine when you go into these auditions and you don't care if you book it or not, because you're like, this isn't the only source of food that I have. And that's what I'm not, let me clarify. I'm not saying don't audition and don't, go to these other projects and do things. Those are like the icing on the cake, if you will, or the salt and pepper to the meal, if you want to look at it like that. But where actors fall into this depression and sadness and feel like I'll never succeed and, whatever, is when they rely on only one source of food that dictates when they get to eat and when they don't get to. But if you are constantly creating, number one, you're creating all these other possibilities and avenues of success. Like if you're creating all the time, if you're expressing yourself, there's no way you can fail. Like, you're destined for success. Who knows how it's going to happen or when, but you're destined for success. More doors are going to open a lot quicker, and they're going to be quantum jumps, as opposed to climbing the ladder. And when you're doing that, when you're constantly creating, and look, if this doesn't work out, I still got all this on my plate. I'm good. You go into auditions, you go into meetings, you go on set completely differently, because you're like, if this doesn't work out, or if they don't like me, or they don't see my value, that's cool, because I got all this other stuff I'm going to go do this then. I appreciate that, and that would be cool to do, or I'd like to make money doing that, but you know what? I got all this. And that is a self-sustaining actor, right? You don't rely on other people. You collaborate with them. You look for opportunities, things like that, but you do not rely upon them to feed you and your family, or just your creative soul. So I just want to share that with you today. Hopefully that helps. I hope you just start creating. If you don't know how, look up. I'll put some links below also to some other people who teach the basics of like screenwriting and filmmaking, things like that. But you really have no excuse, but you do have a plethora of opportunities. You just have to do what other people aren't willing to do. So we'll see you next time, and take care of yourself.